If you do not like your brain, this is your chance to build a brand new one. Because if you think that you are meant to be stuck as one version of yourself for the rest of your life, you are totally wrong. Because it's actually a huge risk to stay complacent by being one version of yourself. You are meant to go through hundreds of evolutions in your life. Neuroplasticity can be applied to anything and everything that you want in your life. Whether it's more money, a beautiful relationship, your dream body, whatever it is, neuroplasticity can get you there. Because once you learn how to apply neuroplasticity in your life will never be the same again, and I promise you that. Here are all the video chapters, and you can find the video chapters in the description below. And if you are someone who is ready to do the real work, I'm not just talking about watching these videos, but actually transforming. I provide worksheets for every single one of my videos. In these worksheets, you'll find in-depth journaling prompts as well as practical exercises to help you start removing your limiting beliefs and to write out an action plan so you can start living out as your highest self today. You can access these worksheets down in the description below. Now let's dive right into the video. The first chapter, we're going to be talking about the stupid simple way of understanding neuroplasticity. So imagine that you are on a snowy hill. And I know for those that live in Australia or Mexico or Hong Kong, you may not necessarily relate to this entirely, but let's just imagine that you are in a snowy place like in Canada, like myself. So you're on this hill, you're hiking up with your sled, and when you're at the top of that hill, you put your sled down, you put your bum down, and you slowly slide down that hill. And initially, you're gonna be met with some resistance because that snow is still pretty fresh. But when you're putting that sled down and you're sliding it down, you're slowly compacting the snow. And once you get to the bottom of that hill, what do? You go back to that same path because it has the least amount of resistance. You go back down that path, you put your sled down, and you slide, and this time, sliding down that hill did not take as much effort than it did the first time around, but instead it's going a little faster. Now, if you do this for another 50 times, going down the hill, going back up, sliding down the hill, going back up, you do this for a number of times, the more that the snow on that slope is going to compact further and further, meaning that that path is going to be very slippery. So when you're going down that slope and you're sliding down that hill for the 50th time on that same path, you are going to be so much faster than the first time that you did it. This is the same exact way beliefs are formed in the brain. Your brain will always think the belief or the thought that has the least amount of resistance. And that takes repetition. If you think a thought over and over and over again, that thought is going to form into a belief. And a belief is simply an automatic program in the brain. And we have beliefs about all kinds of things in our world. Beliefs about relationships, belief about money, belief about our careers, belief about God, beliefs about our self-worth. Our beliefs are formed through two methods. The first method is through repetition. If someone tells us something enough times, the more that we hear it, the more we're going to believe it. The second is through those big experiences that left a huge emotional impact on us. For example, you went through a really bad heartbreak because this woman that you loved so much cheated on you and betrayed you, and that left a very deep emotional imprint on you that you can't unforget it. You remember that event so clearly, and it is so deeply rooted in your subconscious. The brain is so incredible because it can retain memories or stories for 30, 40, even 50 years because it made an emotional impact on us. So if you take a thought and a feeling, a thought and a feeling, a thought and a feeling, and you keep repeating this over and over again, you are building a more slippery slope. And again, as we talked about, the brain will only go through that neural pathway that has the least amount of resistance, which means that if you want to build a brand new belief without having that resistance towards that belief, where you actually genuinely believe that story about yourself, the more you have to think it, the more that you have to practice. And if you keep sliding down that slope 50, 60 times, that belief is going to be your new automatic program. Neuroplasticity does not care who you were 30 years ago, 50 years ago, even what you did yesterday, because neuroplasticity is a decision that you make in the present moment. Whether you want to build a new slope or not, that's your decision right now, because your past will define you to the extent that you give it the power to define you. When you're making a change in your life, it is a decision that you make in the moment where you flip a switch and you're saying, I'm changing right now. It's a decision that you make in the moment. It is not through waiting for motivation, waiting for someone to tell you what to do, waiting for life to come crashing down. It is a decision that you make right now. You don't need to get to your rock bottom moment. So what do you want to start believing today? Life is not coming at you. Life is moving through you, through your beliefs. So if you want to change the state of your life, you need to start changing the state of your being. Chapter number 2 is you are just 1 millimeter away from changing your life. For example, let's take the measurement of the lower part of your nose to the top of your lip. This length, this measurement, if you are a beautiful, attractive person, this length must match exactly the length of your eye. And if you are just a millimeter away, you are going to look very different. 2 millimeters away? Oh my gosh, like you get the picture. So these people would go to these plastic surgeons and these plastic surgeons would make the smallest changes and this person would come out looking like a brand new, completely different person. Or on a more relatable note, if you've ever put on eyeliner on your eyes and you accidentally draw your eyeliner just 1 millimeter thicker than you normally have it, it can make dramatic changes in the way that you look. You can go from Hailey Bieber to Avril Lavigne. A millimeter can make a massive difference in your life. A really powerful belief that I want you to walk away from this video is that if nothing is changing in your life, what if you are just 1 millimeter away from making big drastic changes in your life? What is one little thing that I need to do that's going to change everything in my life? Because if you make just a very small marginal change in your life, you do it for a day, a week, a year, 10 years, where you are going to be at, where your life is going to be at, is going to be completely different from the day that you started. That very small marginal changes can drastically change the course of your life. Confidence is the currency to life and success. You are just a millimeter away from being the most confident version of yourself. And what drives your confidence is inner certainty. Confidence is nothing without internal certainty, because certainty is what gets people to actually trust what you have to say. If shit hits the fan, you step in and you say, I got this. You are gonna come out sounding so capable, so sure of yourself, your posture is straight, your tone of voice is completely changed. There's a level of certainty that people just want to trust what you have to say. Now, I want you to do this with me. I want you to tune into your body, what it feels like to live in a state of certainty. I want you to do this with me. Chant it, scream it, shout it if you need to, but what would you feel like if you can handle anything and everything that comes your way? You're talking on stage or you're talking to your boss and you sound really certain. Now, what if you shifted to not feeling certain? Certain, not certain. Certain, not certain. And there's a very small switch that happens in your chest. That's why people say it with your chest. There's a very small shift that happens, and that's the difference between certainty and uncertainty. Feeling confident and not confident. Feeling worthy versus feeling not so worthy. And that could be the difference where you either stay in your job that you hate and never be able to find another job that's actually better than the job that you're working versus landing your dream opportunity. It could be the difference between staying at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube for a long time versus skyrocketing to 50,000 subscribers. The outcomes in your life will never change unless you change. You can't wait around for certainty to come or waiting and hoping that it will come, but that level of certainty comes out when you truly demand it. When you demand that version of you to emerge and come out. Every day that you wake up, before you speak on camera or whatever it is that you demand that certainty to come through you, that must be conditioned with time. And if you've always wanted to be a content creator, you've always wanted to start posting online and talking online, but you feel a lot of resistance and you feel like you're holding yourself back because you're too scared to post, I've created a 1.5 hour-long immersive workshop to help you start removing that resistance and to start speaking confidently online. You can access the workshop down in the description below. The next chapter is increase the chance of achieving your goals through neuroplasticity. When I was little, I would always sneak into my mom's room. I would wear her pearls, I would wear her clothes, I would wear all of her makeup, I would make a huge mess in her makeup bag because all I really wanted was to be an adult. And I loved being able to pretend with my mom's clothes and my mom's makeup. Or you probably had those days where you and your friends would role play as if you owned a clothing boutique store, or that you guys were all models and you guys were all walking down New York Fashion Week. It is in our true nature to want to play pretend. And our younger selves were so good at it, and yet they were also having so much fun. But as we grow up and we learn more about our position in the world, we stop doing it because we're afraid that we're going to be judged or that we're going to be humbled because we're not staying in our lane. Because if you want to change your life, you're going to have to learn how to play pretend again. Because if you want a whole new outcome in your life, it requires a brand new version of you to emerge. If you were handed $1 million business today, would you be able to handle it? Would you be able to maintain that level of success? If you were handed your dream body today, would you have the lifestyle or the habits in order to maintain that physique? Or if your dream partner walked into your life, will you be able to keep this person around long term? The bigger question that you need to ask yourself is, who do I need to become in order to have my goal? It doesn't matter how bad you want it, and it doesn't even matter if everyone around you thinks you deserve it. If you are not living as if the wish is fulfilled, you will never be able to have it, because if you don't believe it is possible for you, and only you are the one that is responsible for believing that, if you don't believe that it's possible for you, you will never have it. Your subconscious mind will keep putting you in situations where you almost have it, right? Because internally, you believe that it's unattainable. So to get your subconscious mind on board with your goals, on board with your desires, this is what you need to do. Which brings me to my last chapter, which is how to use neuroplasticity to solve every problem in your life. The first thing is to identify your biggest problem. I recommend that you stick with one problem that's going to make the biggest impact in your life, because if you fix this one big problem, it's probably going to solve 80% of your problems. And I'm pretty sure that all of that positive energy, that positive overflow is going to seep into the other areas of your life, and it's going to change those other areas of your life too. So let's start with the one. If you solve this problem, what is the best case scenario that will come out of this? And I highly recommend that you use my worksheet to go through this process of scripting out what exactly is the best case scenario. Step number 2 is, who do you need to be to have that best case scenario? Now, I want you to go through this funnel of change, and I want you to work through layer by layer, and I want you to reverse engineer based on the outcome that you've written. So let's start with the behavior. What kind of behaviors do I need to have every single day? Meaning, what am I going to be doing the moment I wake up? How am I going to be speaking to other people? How am I going to be showing up at work? How am I going to be filming YouTube videos? What am I going to choose to eat? What am I going to choose to do with my time? This is where you want to get very granular and very specific around what kind of behaviors you are expected to do as this person. Now let's go a layer deeper. What kind of skills do I need in order to achieve this outcome? What kind of books do I need to start reading? How am I going to allocate time to learn more? How can I expand my skill set more? How can I make more time to do that as well? The next layer is your beliefs. So what do I need to believe about myself and the world in order to have this outcome? And then lastly is your identity. And this identity is the I am blank statement, right? Who are you at your core if you become this person? If you're having trouble coming up with this list and you're like, I can't get this as granular as I want it to be, I want you to think of a person that has the outcome that you're after. And if you admire this person, that's even better. So go online, look up their podcast, their YouTube, their books, and dive deep into their mindset. You can even look at their day in the life, for example. What are they doing every day? What are they believing about themselves? How are they talking to other people? And you want to microanalyze everything that they say, every mindset that they have, every standard that they have in their life, and write it all down. This is going to be the blueprint of how you need to show up on a daily basis. Because you do not have your desires right now because the universe believes you're not ready for it. So how you want to show the universe that you're ready for this outcome is that you need to start living it as if it is already happening. Planning is such an underrated step, and I don't recommend skipping this step because when you are writing down your plan, you're actualizing it. Therefore, you're more likely to execute because you have written it down on paper. Once you have this blueprint down, step number 3 is to spend 10 minutes every morning and every evening rehearsing the brand new you. This is where you're going to be visualizing what you've written down in the blueprint from the last step, and you're visualizing it in your mind, and you're creating these neural pathways. You're practicing creating a more slippery slope because over time, as you keep rehearsing it, you're going to start acting that way in your life. Do this right when you wake up and when you're about to fall asleep, because those moments are when your subconscious mind is the most open and most suggestible. And as you're visualizing, make sure that you tie the visualization or the intention with an elevated emotion, because a thought and a feeling is going to create a brand new state of being. And having your life changing your personal reality starts with changing your personality. And if you don't know what kind of elevated emotion that you want, just go back to that feeling of certainty that we talked about. And step number 4 is to give your brain time to rewire itself. I remember in the 4th grade, I broke my right arm, and I am right-handed, so I had to cast it up, and basically I couldn't do anything with my right hand, so I was doing everything with my left. And it's really hard because I don't usually write with my left, but I had to do a lot of things with my left hand. I had to write with my left hand. I had to eat with my left hand, cook with my left hand, wipe my bum with my left hand. It was suddenly everything, all the responsibility was going to my left hand. And initially, it was really tough because my comfortability with using my left hand was not as strong as my right. So initially it was hard, but over time, after 3 months and 6 months, I became progressively better at using my left hand. And what's funny was that as soon as I took the cast off of my right hand, it became hard for me to do things with my right hand. So I had to get back to working on practicing how to write, practicing how to wipe my bum, practicing how to use my right arm in general. And as soon as I used more and more repetition, I started to become more comfortable with my right hand. Anything that you want to rewire in your brain is going to take repetition, and it's going to take time. I know some of you in the comments are going to come back to this video after 2 weeks saying that, Jazz, I visualized every day for 2 weeks and nothing has changed. Well, how long did it take you to condition anxiety in your body, right? How long have you been feeling emotions of survival, emotions of anxiety, emotions of low self-worth? Oh, I've been feeling it for 30, 40 years and it was just the worst. So if you're saying that it took 30 to 40 years to condition your body to feel anxiety on a daily basis, wouldn't it be fair to say that it's going to take a little time to recondition your brain and body to feel more confident, to feel more comfortable being in uncomfortable places where your subconscious mind is genuinely going to feel more expanded, more happy? Wouldn't you say it's going to take a little more than 2 weeks to condition your mind to be a brand new person? Keep showing up. Even if nothing changes, keep doing the work, because the opportunities, the people, the circumstances, all of that is going to change when you least expect it. Now, we've reached the end of this video. If you want to work on diving and implementing everything that I've taught in this video, then check out my worksheets down below. And if you are on the journey of becoming the woman of your dreams and building a life that you love, check out my channel because I make a ton of videos about self-worth, relationships, love, money, literally all things high-value women energy. And if you love this video, I highly recommend that you check out this video over here. This video is all about lucky girl syndrome and how to attract an opportunity-rich life. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!